Welcome, Patriot Radio operators. This is a follow-up video for the Degoogled Android phone that we built. And we should have already paired the UV-PRO in the first steps to our setup guide. If any of this sounds foreign to you, then you've obviously missed the previous video on building a Degoogled Android phone dedicated for communications use, especially as it relates to pairing over Bluetooth with the BTECH UV-PRO. So I will link that video in the description of this video so you can go back and get caught up. But you should have the three programs already installed: the BTECH UV Programmer, the APRSDroid, and WOAD or WinLink on Android. We've already covered the BTECH UV Programmer setup. In this video, I'm going to cover the APRSDroid, the forked version, which will provide offline mapping capabilities. I will not be covering WOAD because that's just a different animal. That is for sending emails, sending and receiving emails by connecting to a WinLink node over VHF or UHF. And AmRRON does not officially use WinLink any longer as of several years ago when they began posting all of the content that goes through their nodes on the internet. Now, they did put it behind the wall where you do have to log in, have an account on WinLink, and log in. And we do also use WinLink when we need to send and receive emails during a real-world disaster response. We have used that, and so we do keep that tool in the toolbox, but it is just not a front and center app or setup that we use on a regular business officially with AmRRON. We are going to focus on the APRSDroid setup. And there are a couple of other setups that I'm going to point out that are not in the guide or not in the guide yet. I want to also add some clarification to the store apps that we have. As you know, you already have Obtainium downloaded, F-Droid downloaded, and Aurora, the Aurora store, because on this phone we've degoogled it. So we've removed the Google Play Store. How do you get your apps? Well, I did talk about that in the last video, but I'm going to just dive into that a little bit more here so you have a better understanding. I did not explain it as well as I would like to have. And then also, after we set up APRSDroid, I want to get you set up with AND-FL Message. That's the Android FL Message. I've already covered this in a previous video. It's AIB Monday, how to receive that with a shortwave radio, and the AND-FL Message, Android FL Message program. There is an app, and I'm going to walk you through setting that up. And then I also want to point a couple of other apps to you that I've mentioned is Local Send. Local Send is how you send files between devices that are on your network, your Wi-Fi, anything connected to your router, wired or wireless through your local router. You can send these files to from your phone to your laptop, from Windows to Linux, back to Android. It's just a really great program. And then also Voice Recorder. We're going to get that set up, and I'm going to show you how, and I'm going to demonstrate why, because a teachable moment happened this week during NETs on the Tuesday evening rolling regional 80-meter digital nets. And these different apps are all going to come into play as an emergency backup for receiving traffic that's coming in over the air. Now, for this part, you don't even have to be licensed to receive these ham radio signals, as I talked about in the It's AIB Monday video. But what we're going to do right now is go down to section 4 in the setup guide, APRSDroid. Now, once again, I highly recommend that you download the setup guide, and you should already have it downloaded on your phone, because that way the links, the active hyperlinks, will take you from in your phone straight from the guide right to the website that you need to go to that are referenced throughout this guide. So November Alpha 7 Quebec NA7Q maintains a fork of APRSDroid. Now, APRSDroid is automated packet reporting system. It is a way for you to track others, which allows you to send messages to them, to or from them. It allows you to ping their locations. It allows you to beacon your own location. Now, this is particularly helpful in a real-world emergency situation. Let's say you are part of a search and rescue group and you have multiple teams out covering the hills looking for some lost snowmobilers or some lost hunters or hikers. We did not use this during Hurricane Helene. In that deployment, we had multiple radio operators attached to multiple work teams that were clearing roads with chainsaws and doing some really dangerous work. So we had radio operators attached to each of these teams. In case of emergency, they could call for life flight. They could evacuate somebody out of there, and also they could provide status reports of the team's locations and progress. And something like this would have been extremely helpful to be able to map out in real time where your teams are and be able to communicate with them via text on your cell phone, even without cell phone service. APRS on your cell phone connected to a radio is how you can still continue to send texts to each other, even in a grid down situation. It's one of the ways, but this is a very powerful way. So APRSDroid is a full-featured APRS app. This guide will walk you through the basic setup and connecting to your radio. Various online sources and videos are available for learning more about the in-depth features available. Follow the link from section 2.1 to download and install APRSDroid from NA7Q's website, which you should have already done if you followed the guide. But if you have not, or maybe you're just coming into this and you've got an Android and you want to get this downloaded and set up, then go back to section 2.1 and download and install the APRSDroid app. Also, visit the magic-bug.co.uk passcode. You will need this, and let me just click on it now to demonstrate. And what this is basically a hash based off of your call sign. So what we'll do is we'll use, just for this demonstration purposes, you would add your call sign. It has to be a letter, number, letter configuration. We'll go ahead and use our typical made-up fictitious call sign, W5XYZ, WXYZ. And then hit enter. And it gives you a passcode, in this case, 9870. So then you'll be able to copy this into your APRSDroid app. This is going to be the same no matter how many times you do it or how many different devices you set up on with this call sign. Now, if you are in a situation where you were using this app using tactical call signs, let's just say we have a NATO-style tactical call sign. Let's just say it's a Tango 8 Sierra. You could generate a passcode. Of course, this is not for amateur radio use, but you would enter the passcode 29914 if you were going to use the tactical call sign Tango 8 Sierra. But we're not. We are simulating, and we're working with, where we would most likely use this is with amateur radio. which produces a passcode, kind of a hash, of 9870. And we're just going to park that, and let's go back to our guide. That website is a passcode generator for your call sign. Most APRS apps use your passcode to act as a verification that you have a valid call sign. Well, as you can see, it will still generate a passcode even if it's not a valid call sign, and that's why they have the warning, don't abuse this, don't use fake call signs. This passcode is derived from your call sign and will always be the same number for that call sign. Now remember, in the BTECH UV-PRO, and we'll open up the app right here. Tapping the hamburger menu in the upper left. There's the list of your channels. And remember, we had you add the APRS frequency to channel 30. This is the national APRS calling frequency. If you're running APRS anywhere in the country, you will find nodes and other operators that are running APRS on this frequency, which is 144.390. Now AmRRON has also added an alternate APRS frequency, and we've been programming that on channel 29. So go ahead and program channel 29, press and hold, edit the channel, name it APRS-alt, or for alternative. And this is what AmRRON's been using. That's the frequency of 144.930. Transmit power on high. Click Save. Hit the hamburger menu again. So now you can go between APRS-alt or what AmRRON's using for APRS. And the reason why is because we may want to operate where we're not congesting the normal APRS system that's in our area, but we want to use the features that are built into APRS because we're tracking, but we don't want all of this other data being injected into our mapping and text messaging and so on. And maybe we don't want to project text messages and things that we're placing on the maps to share with our team to go out to anybody or everybody that's not necessarily involved in the same operation as we are. Like responding to a hurricane, and you've got teams that are supporting work crews in the field, and you may want to just work off to the side where you're not in, you're avoiding the crowd, so to speak. So then we would use channel 29, the APRS alt. That will change the frequency on your radio to channel 29 or APRS alt. For the purposes of this video, we'll use channel 30, APRS national calling frequency. Before beginning, ensure your radio digital channel is set to the APRS channel. So what that's talking about is tapping the green button for menu, then scroll down to General Settings, tap OK, scroll down to Digital Mode, OK, and go down and make sure that that is on Digital Channel 30. So we'll click OK, move it to Channel 30, tap OK or Select, and make sure that your Enable checkbox is checked, and in this case it is. So we can just hit Return, and we're ready. Okay, so we're back at our instructions, and we have the Android here. You can see the top app there is APRSDroid. And let's go through the setup instructions. When you open APRSDroid for the first time, you'll be prompted for your call sign and passcode. Enter those and click OK to continue. So we tap on the app, and there's the prompt. Okay, so go ahead and enter your call sign, and I'll do the W5XYZ. I'll go ahead and change this later to my actual call sign, but I'm just demonstrating here. So that passcode, remember that passcode? Write it down in your notes because it'll come in handy if maybe you don't have access to the internet and when you're trying to set an app up. So let's go back to that website. And the passcode that it gave us for our fictitious WXYZ is 9870. Click OK. And it accepted it. Let's go back to our instructions. You will now be at the main APRSDroid log page. Tap the three dots in the top right and select the Preferences option. There are many options to configure, but this guide will focus on a few important options to get up and running with the BTECH UV-PRO. Your call sign is already filled in from your first start entry. Tap the SSID to adjust appropriately for your station. The SSID is just a dash and then a number. And this guide here actually kind of gives you an idea of what some of those look like. We will go with handheld radio, which is what we're using. So we'll go -7 will be our SSID. So it will be your call sign, dash, and then this number. APRS digipath. Change the APRS digipath to wide 1-1, wide 2-2 with no spaces. Wide 1-1, wide 2-2. Click OK. Oh, before I do, this wide 1-1, 2-2, I am not an APRS expert, but as it is my understanding that this is kind of like think of it as like a calling group or kind of a call sign in and of itself. So the APRS system, people that run iGates and digipeaters, they are looking for wide 1-1. And when they see that, when their station sees that, it knows to digipete or repeat digitally your signal, whatever that might be. If it's a message or if it is a beacon for your location. And 1-1 and 2-2 are settings that determine how many times it's repeated throughout the area. So if you have 2 or 3 or 4 iGates stations that are running digipeaters, they will repeat it once, and then another station will repeat it one more time, or 2 stations, maximum 2 stations that will copy this will send it out 2 times. So, and what I mean by that is it won't be digipeated more than twice, because otherwise, if you have multiple digipeaters in an area, every time they hear a beacon, they turn around and repeat it. And then the next guy who just sent your beacon out, digipeated it out, hears it come back around, and then so he sends it back out again. And it just creates this big collision loop, continuous, nonstop. So what this does is it tells those digipeater stations how many times to repeat that call sign when they hear that wide 1-1 or wide 2-2, so that it only sends it out in 2 hops and it won't go any further than that. I hope I explained that correctly. And the APRS Puritans will correct me. All right, click OK. Tap Connection Preferences. You may need to allow notifications on the pop-up. This menu, many sub-menus to go through. We will focus on using APRS over RF and not internet-based. So tap Connection Protocol and select TNC KISS. Allow. See, by default it's set at internet. Tap that. Change it to TNC KISS, because The UV-PRO has a KISS TNC built into it. It's a beautiful piece of technology. Tap connection type. Select Bluetooth SPP. Allow. Tap TNC Bluetooth device. Select your radio. UV-PRO. Press your device's back button to return to the Preferences menu. That's in the lower tray here on this phone. Tap Unit Preference. Change to Imperial Units. Tap APRS symbol to select your icon. This is what you see on the map. So if you're camping, you might want to put a tent. If you're on a motorcycle, you could use the motorcycle icon. We are fixed at home right now, so we'll click the little house. And that will show down there in the lower right-hand corner. Click OK. Now this is optional. Tap voice frequency. Enter the frequency you are monitoring for voice. This will also go out when you beacon your location information. So when you pop up, they can also see what frequency that you are monitoring on your radio so that they could make a radio call and talk to you if you would like to add that option. Quick note here also, remember how we went into the radio and we set the data channel to channel 30? Okay, that operates in the background. So even though you have your local repeater and maybe a simplex frequency showing on the face of the radio, that it's almost like having 3 frequencies, because as long as channel A and channel B on the face of your radio are not in use, it will transmit that third channel, that data channel that you set, channel 30 in our demonstration here. It will transmit over the APRS frequency so long as the other channels are not in use. If you are receiving, if somebody is talking on one of those other main channels, it won't come through. Oh, voice frequency. We'll put in, how about 146.420, the AmRRON National Calling Frequency for the 2-meter voice, which is one that I often have monitoring on my handheld. So click OK. Tap the comment field as desired. This is where you can get rid of APRSDroid. That's there by default when you install the app. Maybe I might put testing UV-PRO. So that'll go out when I beacon. That's obviously optional as well. Tap Position Privacy. Select your desired level of position resolution. Now this is where you're able to set the accuracy of your pin on the map. One of the things that has given some people some trepidation about using APRS is they don't want to be a pin on a map that somebody can track their location. So this has certain applications. There are times when you do want you and your buddies to be able to be tracked. If you're snowmobiling up in the mountains, if you're hunting, if you are on a search and rescue party and you've got multiple teams with radio operators attached to each team, you want to, there are legitimate times when you want to know where everyone is. You can turn this off and on. And you can also set your ambiguity. So maybe you want others in your area to know that you're on the air, and you don't necessarily want them to have such an accurate grid coordinate. Somebody could actually do a drone strike on your grid coordinate and take you out. So you can make this as ambiguous as you want. So if ambiguity is off, it will send precise, accurate location data. Or you can make it within 100 meters, 1,000 meters. and or a grid square, so you can make it as vague as you want. We will leave this off. Now there's one other setting that's not covered in the instructions, which is one of the things I was looking forward to covering when doing this video. And above position privacy is location settings. Go ahead and tap that. Your location source, smart beaconing, will use GPS in the phone. But I want to point you to the manual position at the bottom. This is where you can choose on a map. You see that selection there? You can manually put in coordinates, or you can choose on a map. So let's tap choose on a map. This puts you in Europe. I think, where is it? Poland or someplace in Europe. So you want to zoom out, find the location that you want to have on the map. And this is the position that when you do beacon, it will put out a position that you want it to report. So let's zoom in here. Let's go to Spokane. North of Spokane is a small community called Deer Park. It has an airport. We'll zoom in, and you can even make it look like you are at a particular hangar at the airport. So we'll just choose this office here, or this hangar, and save position, lower left-hand corner. And that's where you will appear on the map to everyone else. That's why we left the ambiguity off. We want precise location because we're manually selecting the place of our choosing that we want it to appear to others. So you're not giving up your exact position, but you are letting other people on the air know that you are on the air, and they can message you. And there might be times when that's exactly what you want. So we'll back navigate now, and let's go to page 11 in the instructions. Okay, you will be at the APRSDroid log screen at this time. APRSDroid is set to use your radio. Before we start beaconing, let's familiarize with the app buttons. Right here, the stacked 3 dots, that is your menu button that you are already familiar with because you just backed out of that. The small arrow pointing to the right is your messages sent and received. And it will show if they failed or if they were delivered or received. The next one is your map. And finally, we have the log or hub. Scroll down. To start beaconing, press the Start Tracking button at the bottom of the screen. You should see a notification pop up saying APRS service started. Smart beaconing position TNC KISS. At this point, you should see your radio screen show the rectangle connection icon. That's the one that looks like a little small smartphone. GPS is being provided by your phone to determine position. If you do not have GPS lock, the app will not beacon your position. Messaging will still operate and is a useful method to confirm your app and radio are communicating properly. You must tap Stop Tracking to release the radio from the app. If you just close APRSDroid and do not first press Stop Tracking, the app will likely keep the TNC connection to the radio and prevent other apps from interacting. And that's what we were talking about. You try to connect another app and it will not. And you have no idea why, because you just closed out of APRSDroid. Probably because you closed out of it before stopping the tracking. So make sure you do that. Super important. Now, the reason why I was able to demonstrate manually placing your position on the map is because I am connected to Wi-Fi. As soon as I disconnect, I will lose my maps because I do not have this brand new Degoogled phone set up with off-grid maps. So I'm going to use the exact same resource that I'm going to point you to, or I'm going to point you to the exact same resources that I've used in the past and will use for this phone, and that is APRSDroid Offline Maps by KM4ACK. He does a great job. He's excellent with ham radio reviews and techniques and procedures specific to ham radio. And so I am going to direct you to this video. I will link it down below. This is what got me set up and running for off-grid maps on my APRSDroid, and it will set you up too. So the best thing that you can do for yourself after you get offline maps, take your radio and your phone and take it with you everywhere you go. Drive and just connect. Even if you don't beacon, just see what you hear, see what you can receive. There's a lot more to this app. These are just the fundamentals to get you off and running and actually make use of your BTECH UV-PRO with some of the features that are unique to it, with the built-in GPS. The KISS TNC really makes this radio quite capable. And this is just scratching the surface of what we can do with these radios. But this is a really good app that will make it useful in a real-world disaster, something that can be implemented. This last summer, we had wildfires, and I think it was the Northwest Wildfire Center, National Center, was actually posting wildfire coordinates to APRS. So, of course, that's all done over the internet. But when you're driving around with this and you look at the map of your area, you're seeing wildfires that APRS received, and these iGate station operators, through them with the internet connection, they are retransmitting, just like they retransmit your location beacon, that wide 1-1, 2-2. They're doing the same thing with that type of data that's useful in either an emergency or just hazardous developments such as wildfires. So we were seeing wildfires populating on our maps on APRS. So you know what roads to avoid, and you can plan routes accordingly. You can also check the weather. There's several weather stations that you can query. Just put out a general query along with a zip code, and it'll come back with a weather report and forecast for the area that you're inquiring about over radio. And then you can read it on your cell phone, even without internet, even if you have no data or internet connection. Okay, I know that there's so much more to cover. I don't want to make these real long. I want to make them easy to digest. So I'm going to make another video, a follow-up video, to add AND-FL message and local send and voice recorder. And I'm going to share that teachable moment that occurred this week to show you a practical way how these devices can come in so handy with these tools that are free and open source and available to you, that can make a big difference. And I'll lead that off with this discussion, just very briefly cover these different app stores that allow you to get these apps free and away from the Google Play Store. All that in the next video, so stay tuned. Like if this was helpful to you and you appreciated it, comment, give a thumbs up, share, and I won't protest if you want to buy me a cup of coffee. All right, guys, get your comms up. This is John Jacob Schmidt, out.